Hello, you're welcome to That Word series on Edify TV. Today we are here at the Calvary Baptist Church, Shiashi, where we're having a conversation with our father, Reverend Dr. Fred Deegbe. He was once the General Secretary of Christian Council of Ghana and also Senior Pastor, Calvary Baptist Church. Papa, you're welcome to That Word series on Edify TV.
Thank you. My pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity granted us to be with you this evening. The name Reverend Deegbe sounds very domestic for those of us who somebody will say the church mouses, right? To put it in a context, who is Reverend Dr. Deegbe?
Thank you. Well, I guess if you say it's known in a lot of homes, it probably would be because of my service at the Christian Council of Ghana.
Okay.
So I don't know whether that's the angle from which you want me to start.
Certainly.
Yes, I was the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, by God's grace, from the period 2003 to 2013. 10 years. And those 10 years, we went through 3 elections. We were at the forefront of the elections. The council mobilized churches to do a number of things, such as campaigning for HIV and AIDS, educating people on this, anti-corruption, media. The Church of Ghana, through Christian Council, was involved in a lot of things, and the General Secretary being the spokesperson, working for peace at the forefront and the background, necessarily brought me into a lot of homes. So if I look familiar to you, as you describe yourself, the church mouse, it's because that was our role, and I had the grace of God to serve for 10 years. So,
reading through your profile, I realized that you are a member of the Institute of Fiscal Studies.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And also, you are a lawyer by profession. You've been called to the bar.
Yes.
And combining this with ministry, how is it like?
Well, for me, it's a very simple task. If I may go back to the beginning somehow, I remember when I was a young child, 12, 13, in those years we had to write common entrance. Okay. And it was my desire to pass and go to secondary school. And whether it was out of fear or out of conviction or out of the desire to obey God, I knelt down and prayed, Lord God, help me. And whatever you bless me with, I'll use it to serve you all my life. So I sat the common entrance and I passed. Well, my parents said I was too young to go, so I should go again, another year, and I passed again. Now, the Lord kept reminding me of this prayer. So the more I went into whatever I wanted to do, it kept bringing in my heart. So, until finally, when I finished law school, University of Ghana, I was asked to serve in the church. And I just said, well, you pray some prayers, here's the opportunity, so move. Wow. And I moved into it. So for me, it wasn't that difficult, because it just showed me the faithfulness of God. One could say it was a childhood prayer, but I think sometimes God puts the desire on our heart. And then the time comes and say, are you willing to give it all and serve me? And say, yes. So for me, no knowledge is useless. And it helped me to serve in diverse ways, so that even though I did not go into active practice of law, yet the knowledge of law, the classmates had, and some of the things we were taught helped us and still helps us to serve God and country in many, many, many ways.
Right. Thank you for this brief but very insightful recall of events concerning your life that somebody said, be careful what you pray for.
That's right.
That's exactly what has come to.
Yes.
Right. Papa, you recall that this celebration of mothers, celebration of fathers, celebration of women, celebration of men, in this dispensation, the celebration of Father's Day and Mother's Day have become phenomenon in Ghana, and we are receiving it with a welcome heart. But it looks as if whenever there's Father's Day, the pomp and pageantry, the passion with which even media hypes Mother's Day is not. We can't compare that to that of Father's Day.
Correct.
You are a father, and I want you to share something with us, personal life experience as a father, where we can, as young people watching us on this network, can also learn something from.
Well, I think fatherhood is important, and when I say it is important, I don't mean motherhood is not important. Sure. You see, whatever God does, He has a purpose for it. Sure. So He created male and female. So if you celebrate the male, or you must celebrate the female. If you celebrate the female, you must celebrate the male, because each one of them has a particular part to play. In fact, it has been shown over and over and over again that homes that do not have the benefit of a loving mother and a loving father, the children suffer. Okay, the children suffer. And the reason why maybe the Mother's Day gets all the attention is that fathers traditionally have been known to be macho. They are out there trying to earn a living, and sometimes to the neglect of their home and responsibility. The mother carries the baby in the womb for 9 months, gives birth to the baby, breastfeeds the baby. So there's a lot of bondage between the mother and the baby. And so when the Mother's Day is coming, they are reminded of all of these things. Now, it is easy for a father to abandon their children, but not mothers. And so generally people pay attention to their mothers and celebrate them a lot. And I say reasonably so. I can all tell you the role my mother played. They are so sympathetic when they are sick, when they seem to be caring. Even though men may seem to care, they do not show their emotions as much as the women. And so they are seen as not caring, even though they feel it. I can recall a personal story. Our last born was not well. She had some deformity, and it was a big burden on the family. But Dad had to go to work and earn a living. So he gets up in the morning and he goes to work. One day he came back and he looked shaken, all shaken. I said, what happened? He said, it's only the grace of God that brought him back safely. I said, why? He said he could not tell how he managed to drive off his lane into another person's lane. The only thing he saw was he was driving, and somehow he got startled and slammed on the brakes, and the people said a few choice words about him. But all of that time, he was just thinking about the home, the wife, the baby, and the child, and all of that. Well, I could say he wasn't a very expressive person who would say, I care, I love my wife, I'll support you. Those were days when we didn't have telephone, so he would not call nobody. When you see me, you see me. So this day and age, those means are there, and we should learn as young people or new fathers with new technology, to be able to show our love, communicate with our spouses, let our children know that we also care, and show that father and mother are needed for the development of the home and development of the person. So I think that is an important thing, that if we missed it as young people, there are a number of things that our parents didn't teach us, but we are learning ourselves. Some good, some bad. I don't think any child today below 20 or 30, their parents knew how to use mobile phone, internet, and all those things. We learned it. So why don't we learn the good things about being a father? Yeah, about what it takes to be a father, what it takes to be a man, what it takes to be a good husband, and ensure a different model. Because we'll come back to the book later on. You see, when you sow the seeds of not caring, you harvest it later on at the end of your life, when your children don't even care about you, they don't even know who you are. So fatherhood is also ordained by God, and it must receive attention. But it is easier for people to celebrate the one who shows love, compassion, and affection. And if we want it, not just because we want it as men, as fathers, since we also must play our role, let's play it so that we'll also be celebrated, if not by our children. At least God himself will know we are doing our best.
No, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
There is this quote that I find on a book that you have forwarded for Reverend Dr. John V.A.T. There is a quote that I want to read. That it is easier for a father to have children than for children to have a real father. Pope John the 23rd. On this note, we take a short break, and when we come back, we delve into this quote from Pope John the 23rd. You all come back to Edify TV, and this is That Word series. I'm here with Reverend Dr. Deegbe. I must also remind you that this program is brought to you by Imbu's Herbal Mixture, popularly called Policing Edru. This evening we're having a conversation about fatherhood, and there is a quote on a book that we're going to have a discussion on that was said by Pope John the 23rd, which says, it is easier for a father to have children than children to have a real father. Papa, what is your take on this quote by the Pope?
I agree with him. It's a very profound saying, but it is also a saying born out of the fact of life, the fact of observation. For instance, what does it take to be a father? And excuse my language. Anybody who is biologically mature after puberty, you are a man. Once you have erection and you are able to produce and you have sexual relationship, you can produce children. Whether you want them or not, you produce them. You have them. You can be an irresponsible father just producing children. Men have been known to have 4, 6, 10 wives, 70, 80, 100 children, and they may not even know all of them. They're just producing. So the first part of that quotation is easier for a man to have children. Once you are functioning as a man, all things being equal, you don't need anything else. But for children to have a real father, what that quotation means is that fatherhood involves a lot of tasks. It is a role, it is a function, it is a responsibility, it is a commitment. So the Pope is trying to make the difference between somebody who just biologically gave birth to children,
somebody who
is responsible to accept his role. I take care of this woman who carried this child. While this child is in my wife's womb, I'm responsible. How is she faring? What's she going to eat? What's going on in her life? When is the hospital checkup? We are in this together. When the child is born, what does the child eat? Is it a boy or girl? Sometimes we have this quotation, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. I read somewhere, one of the interpretations given to that verse is that every child comes with a God-ordained system. So it is a responsibility of the father or the parents to learn, what does this child come with? And when you know what the child has come with, you train the child in such a way that that thing will flourish. Okay, so the real father takes interest in that child. Oh, this is a gifted child. Oh, is he born to be what? An athlete, a preacher, and this and that? What gifts are this person? Is he left-handed, right-handed? A real father can look at the child together with the mother and see the gift in that child and shape the child with values. So whether the child is brilliant enough that you become a doctor or engineer, or brilliant enough he wants to become a carpenter or this and that, you can shape them in such a way that they can become very good, committed Christian doctors, lawyers, engineers, truthful carpenters, mechanics, and all of that. Because the gift that God has given to them is already there. You are to add the value, like we say V.A.T, value added tax. Oh, man. You are to add those values. So train up the child in the way he should go. So you add all those values to it so that the child, that they said about Jesus Christ, he grew in favor with God, favor with men, and with this and that. You can see that Christ already had the word in him. At 12, 13, he was talking to people big. But like a child, he could stay somewhere that he wanted to stay and forget about the father and mother. The mommy will say, no. Dad will say, no. Why do you do this to us? Come home. Then you come home. Then you learn that as a child, you have to be obedient. There's time for everything. There's a responsibility in the house. You are the firstborn, do this and that and that. Up to the point where, when he is now dying on the cross, and the father may have died earlier from all that we know, say, look, John, take care of my mother. Mother, this is your son. Take care of him. So it goes round the circle. From the beginning of his life, father and mother poured something into him, teaching him how to live a rounded life. At the end of his life, say, my mother, I'm going, but somebody take care of him. So you train up the child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they would never depart from it. And that should be a message to mothers, and especially our type, who are men also, that God has given us a task and a responsibility. This is what is being referred to as the real father. So you see people who say, yes, this man gave birth to me, but he's really not my father. Or you see people say, oh, this man gave birth to me, but this is my real father, or this is my mentor, this is the one who took care of me. Because sometimes we don't play our roles very well as fathers.
Sometimes we don't play our role well as fathers. Now this leads me to my next question that we're going to have. This is a book authored by one God servant, very humble one, of course, that I know in person, Reverend Dr. John B. V.A.T. And the caption or the title of the book is Dare to be a Dad. And this book was forwarded by the very man I'm speaking with here this evening. I'm going to find out from Reverend Dr. Deegbe, what did he see in the contents of this document that attracted his signature and his thoughts on this book. Papa, share with us.
Thank you for the opportunity to share. I know the author is a friend, a brother, and we've crossed our paths in many ways. So when he wrote the book and invited me to write a foreword, I started scanning it. I said, no, this is not a book I should scan. Let me read it. And I really read it. And just like I was saying in the previous segment, that it's easier to be a father than a real dad. Reverend V.A.T. takes his time to show us what the challenge is, why men fail. Sometimes we fail because we don't even know the responsibilities that we have. Okay? Father is a role, fatherhood is responsibility, fatherhood is caring. A real father prays for the children, imparts something to the children, helps discipline them. So he lists our knowledge gap, he lists the weaknesses or he enumerates them, and he even shows us the consequences from Bible characters who, even though created by God, they have big names, how David failed, how Solomon failed, how some of them failed. And the same Bible tells us that these things were written as examples for us to learn from, so you don't repeat those mistakes. So he now goes on to teach us how we can do this. And he demystifies some of those popular things, a man doesn't cry and all those things, that you have a task to perform. And as you said from the intro, people pay a lot of attention to motherhood. I have never been a mother, but let me say, motherhood sometimes is instinctive. You see, when I say it's instinctive or intuitive, you don't have to teach a mother how to breastfeed the baby. It comes naturally, you see. But there are some men who think that I'm so macho man that if I even hold my child, the bones may break. The child is so fragile, I don't want to touch them. If the child weeps on him or dirty, say, what is this? What is it? Get your child, get your child. You start doing this to a baby who is your child. You see, but a mother, well, I mean, there are some few mothers who say, no, but they take the toilet, the urine, all these as part of it. As intuitively, they do it. Even, even in the animal kingdom, among the animals, they just lick all these things from the animal, and then they follow the goat. And mothers do those things instinctively. But fathers, we don't. And V.A.T tells us that we must go beyond our socialization and see that this is a role, this is a responsibility. You can learn or you can unlearn some of these things and become a real father. So you see that people who have learned some of these things, you see them, the mother is weak, is unable, the man learns to cook, helping go with the wife, supporting them, hospital, or doing whatever they can. And he has a lot of food for thought for us, so that if you don't want to be termed an irresponsible father, or if you want to improve on your skills, your knowledge as a father, you will benefit a lot from reading his book, because he diagnoses, he doesn't condemn, but he teaches. So I think that is what made me really love the book and write a forward and recommend it. I still recommend it to people to read and study. Yeah.
That is Reverend Dr. Fred Deegbe. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, I'll read a portion of the foreword that he wrote in this book for your edification. Don't go away. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to take a piece of the foreword by Reverend Dr. Deegbe of this book written by Reverend Dr. John D. V.A.T, Dare to Be a Dad, so that you can take some inspiration from it. And I'll start with the first line. Reverend Dr. John D. V.A.T is a well-known pastor, family man, speaker, and church administrator, and much more. In spite of the many hats he wears, he is passionate about family life issues and has helped many people through his writings as well as his radio and television presentations. One of the greatest myths from our culture is that men don't cry, of which Dr. V.A.T certainly does not believe this theory, as it shows the many ways by which men cry and ask for help without sometimes being aware that they are even crying for and need help. Dr. Deegbe went further to say he recommends this book for men's fellowships and other focus groups who can use this as a book for effective capacity building for their members. And I believe my Presbyterian Men's Fellowship are viewing this. So this is the book we are talking about this evening. Sunday coming is Father's Day, and we are doing everything possible to equip our young fathers, older and even yet to come fathers, so that we can be game changers in the fatherhood ministry for God. Now, Papa, before we wrap up, there are many of us as young people who have certain deep-seated anger, pain, resentment against our fathers because of something we feel they didn't do, something we feel if they would have done, maybe our life would have been better than what we see it today. So because of that, even some people don't even talk to their fathers.
Yeah.
At this moment, that by Sunday we're celebrating Father's Day, what message do you have for such people?
Well, as a pastor, I would say if you feel so negative about your father, the best advice I can give you is forgive him. Forgive him. Even if he's dead, forgive the person. Because that's a Christian thing to do. Forgive. The Lord taught us, if you don't forgive people their sins, you will not be forgiven. Forgive because, as I've alluded to, some of these things we do it, fathers do some of these things unconsciously. It is the mold that society puts us into. This is the role of a man, this is the role of a woman. You must be strong, you must be this, you must be that. When the mother is training a child, say you wait and see. When your father comes, he will beat you. So the father is known to be the one who will beat, who will slap, he won't ask any questions. You go. I mean, so fathers who are not careful go through all of these things. Sometimes fathers go through some of these things too because they are polygamous. I should say it's easy to be a father. There was one time I was on radio arguing about somebody and they were telling me it is part of our culture for men to marry a lot of women. So what is our problem? Then I had a Catholic priest, he scribbled something for me to read. He said, in our own culture where they admit that a man can have many, many wives, they also say a man who has many wives has many tongues. Okay? He has many tongues. So he's here, you ask him where he's. So, and sometimes your son mischievously will be following you. Oh, he passed here, he passed here, he passed here, he passed here, seeing what the father did. You say, I don't have money, but you have money for this, you have money for pride, you have money for, and they hate the father. And it grows in us. That's why I was saying that men, they cry too. Sometimes they cry, not with the weeping that we see. We only think that's the weeping. So they are there lonely. Nobody minds them. Or like the Father's Day, nobody cares. Mother's Day, they say, why are they doing all of these things? And all of these seeds come back to us. So if you feel like that, you see, let's remember, particularly as Christians, that Christ came to save us. If any man be in Christ is a new creation, the old has passed, the new has come. It is easy to see somebody's fault, but when you see it, we must resolve not to repeat those things. So love your son, love your daughters, love your husband, love your wife. Show that love is the greatest. Unlearn some of these things. And one of my favorite verses is that we will all appear before the judgment seat of Christ and give an account of what we've done in our body, whether it is good or bad. So the one who did that bad thing, if they actually knew it was bad and they were doing it, God will judge them. And they'll certainly face a just God who will give them what they deserve. But you, who see somebody's wrong thing and then you hate the person, and then it is in you. So when you have wife and children, you are also continuing to maltreat them. In my house, the man never pounded fufu. My father never did this, never did this. Meanwhile, you can do, your wife is pregnant. I see some men. I could say, brah, water is here. You still want somebody to come and give you water to drink. Remember, the woman came to help you. So you are the one, she's to help what you are doing. Do it. So let them be, you take over and do it and let them help you. That's a new thing we must learn. That's why I'm saying that this type of book is good to build capacity, because according to Romans 12, there should be a renewing of our mind. As the Lord has saved us, there should be a renewing of our mind. Christ is above culture. Christ is beyond all this social indoctrination. They have not helped us. You see, the example I give people is that if you take a bicycle, it has two tires. When one has a puncture, the bicycle doesn't move well, or a car has a puncture, it doesn't move well. So when the family is dysfunctional because the man doesn't function well, the whole family doesn't work well. The children don't function well, their wife doesn't function well. But when all are working together, the whole family rejoices. And that's what Gatti was saying. I mean, you have a family circle, everybody is praying for mommy, praying for daddy, praying for this and that and that. You see the family booming and blossoming. A father like Job, when he thinks that his children have done something wrong, he prays for them, prays with them. He takes the leadership role and lifts your children before the Lord. What you wish for them, you confess it on them, you pray for them, establish it in their lives. When you have blown it, she says, oh, my children, I blew it, oh, I blew it, pray for me. When you don't know it, oh, teach me something. Then they know that you can learn. You see, so we can unlearn certain bad things, we can learn certain good things, and the newer generation will be a more godly generation that will give glory to God. And remember, for those of us who are in churches, a good nation must be built up from good churches. And the church can only be good when it's built from good homes. And the home can be good when the God appointed leader, the father of that home, who represents God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, is playing their role. So fatherhood is a very enormous task. I don't remember asking whether I should be born a man or not. I was born a man.
You love being a man.
And so the one who made me a man, when I need help,
I go to him.
I said, Lord, help me, because this task is big. I can't do it without your help. That's the humility of a man. And when you ask for help, God helps us so that we can also manifest the help to others as well. So the way he goes around it, and some of this is my own embellishment, having read it, the thing that I see, that we can do better than we are doing. When men rise anywhere and they want to do something, they do it and do it very well. But when we sit down and we don't want to play the role, the whole world goes haywire. And the last one, you see, a study was done last year. I was in lockdown, and the women of America took on the men. That the reason why there's so much rot and sickness and disrespect in the black community is that 75%, if I'm exaggerating, God forgive me, but you can check it, 75% of those homes, they don't know who their fathers are. The men are not responsible. And so what's the consequence? The children have poor self-image, they go into trouble, they have low self-image, no ambition, all that these things around wearing big shoes, big this, playing basketball, playing this. It's not as if those things are bad, but the excess of it. And the slightest thing, they shoot each other, they do this.
That is exactly the point that I wanted you to conclude with.
Yeah.
That in recent times we have seen atrocities being caused by young people.
Yeah.
That is ritual killing for money, robbery, and all this are caused by young people. For the few times that I've visited the prisons with a team of judges for Justice for All programs, you realize that the huge percentage, about 95, are young people, productive young people in prison, in incarceration, in remands. Isn't this, can't we attribute this to the failure on the part of fathers rising to the task? That is when we are saying this.
You're right. That's what I'm saying. That, you see, one of the things we don't do well in this country is research in those areas. And that's what the research was finding, that the reason why there are so many dysfunctional homes and all these killing, it's not the only reason, is that the fathers, you see, the father draws the boundary. You can't cross the boundary. He sets the tone for values, what you can do, what you cannot do. He prays for you, and there's a covering over you. So when you're even going somewhere, some voice tells you it is wrong, it is this, there's a limitation. Okay? So all these things are there. And when the father's role is a loving father, not a tyrannical bully, it's a loving father who is protecting with eagle eyes, that he's for your good, this for your welfare. They don't do this. The children behave better. Now, some of the things that the people are doing is cry for help. They don't know any value, so all they want is money. And if you must kill even a baby for the money, you will pay. They are crying to be loved. If they must rape somebody, they rape, they steal. If they must do this, they go and bet to get the money to do what? If they are taught that this is not just what life is about, by somebody who is living it, they can say, oh, my father says a good name is better than riches. And he's living it. My father says God will provide, and the Lord has provided. My father says, I've been young, and now I'm old. I have not seen a righteous forsaken or his children begging bread. Son, don't go that way. And he's seen that you are living it. Oh, one author said, beliefs planted in childhood may wither, but they seldom die. Something, not something. The Holy Spirit will bring you back to that child. Even if they go, like the prodigal son, they'll go. Say, how can I be so foolish? Look at the laborers in my father's house. They eat, they sleep. What am I doing here with pigs, with prostitutes? I'll get up and I'll go home and I'll tell my father, Father, I've sinned against heaven and I've sinned against you. Take me and let me just be one of your servants. Because he realized the home he came from, even though he didn't respect it, he thought he needed something wild. And when he went out there, the wild thing, he didn't have the father's blessing, he didn't have the father's protection, he didn't have the company. He was thrown to the wild dogs. He learned sense. He came back home. It's the home such that when even these children learn sense and they come back, would we accept them? Fathers, because of our embarrassment, maybe your child may not call you Father's Day. So maybe you know he's angry. So why don't you call him? Oh, Akwesi, or Kweku, I was expecting your call, he didn't call me. It's even this Father's Day. I just want you to know I'm there for you. I am there for you. Let us begin to build these bridges to show the love of God, particularly Christian men, and sing a different song and see whether we will not leave a legacy for our children and our children's children.
Thank you, Papa. And see whether or not we will not leave a legacy for our children, our children's children. This has been That Word series on Edify TV, and I've been your host, Nana Esiedu. And this program is brought to you by Imbus Herbal Mixture, the police in Edrook. And this time of COVID, if you need something to boost your immune system, all that you need is Imbus Herbal Mixture. And remind you also as this book can be obtained from the Assemblies of God bookshop at the head office or Challenge Bookshop. If you need a copy, you can also call 0243 259544. 0243 259544, and we will get it across to you. There's a lot of wisdom nuggets shared in this book, and I want every young man to get a copy for your library, and it will do you much good, and you'll never regret. Thank you for watching That Word series here on Edify TV, and see you on another episode next week.